birds of a feather waddle together. And that's never been truer than it is for the Adelie penguin. As the dapper flippers make their way across the Antarctic ice each year, it's important for each one to stake their claim on what little land is available. But how can birds solve these gerrymandering disputes? With money, of course. But having a crude currency is just one of the Adelie's survival techniques here in life, death, and taxonomy.
Welcome back to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It's your 30 minutes of interesting animal info. I'm Joe.
And I'm Carlos.
Thank you to Cassie for the creation of our theme song. To hear more of Cassie's music, search Cassie Michelle on YouTube. And today we're talking about a formal feathered friend, but more on that later.
A finely formal feathered friend.
For sure.
Before we start, I want to just direct everyone's attention to the Disney nature documentary that they have on Disney Plus. If you have Disney Plus, that's what gave me the idea to do this little animal. And it's a great documentary and it's hilarious. So just watch it. It's great. But what are we talking about? What is this little animal? Who's this finely feathered formal friend? There we go.
We're talking about Danny DeVito himself.
He is not that formal, except in Dumbo when he wears his circus ringmaster outfit.
I'm talking about 90s Danny DeVito when he played the Penguin, right? That was him, right?
I thought when I think 90s Danny DeVito, I think of Phil from Hercules.
That too. He plays the same guy. But we're talking about a specific one. I think it's Adelie.
The
Penguin?
Adelie.
Adelie?
Yes.
See, I watched a bunch of these videos that have no talking and just text on screen that are really popular on Facebook, but I hate because it's like, if I'm going to read an article, just let me read an article.
Well, if you watch the Disney nature documentary Penguins, then it's the Adelie. There's an accent over the E, the first E.
Okay, that works for me.
But this is what we're going to call it here. So there's no nicknames out that I could find from other sources. So these are all mine. The first is Lovelace. That's from Happy Feet. He's an Adelie penguin in the movie Happy Feet.
Creepy.
Voiced by the late, great Robin Williams. We're also going to call it here the Cobblestone Cobblepot. There's another reference to Batman villain there. Rolling in the Cheap, because it's a bird, cheap.
Oh, okay.
And the Tuxedoed Toddlepuff.
Toddlepuff?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a word we'll understand later?
Nope.
Or should I know it now?
No, you should just, it's a puff that toddles.
Gotcha. Yeah. It's a word of your own design.
Yes. So yeah, that's what we're gonna Lovelace.
Would you like to know what it is in the animal kingdom?
A penguin.
That's correct. And it's in the kingdom you know, love, and are in the kingdom Animalia. It's in the phylum Chordata. It's in the class. It's a bird. What do you think it is? That's right. It's Aves.
Yes.
And the order is not something we've been to before.
Here we go.
It's not something we've been to wrong before.
Uh-huh.
It's not a been to wrong. It's a Spheniciformes. Spheniciformes?
Yeah. Sounds like
Spheniciformes?
Yes, Spheniciformes. Sure.
It's got the SCI like science.
Yeah.
There were some hissing S's in that. I need my pop filter. Okay, so family, you know it. You don't know it. You're not in it. You might love it. The Sphenicidae. Or Sphenicidae.
Sphenicidae. It sounds like
I like that. I like the S, the hard C, but I don't think that's what it's.
Spheniscidae?
Yeah, but that's not it. It's got to be like science.
Yeah, it's got to be Sphenicidae. It sounds like a Viking pill. Just take a Sphenicidae.
Oh, Sphenisada? No way.
No. A-E. We always say A for that.
It's in the genus Pygoscelis.
That's what I would say. We're really married to this SC situation.
Yeah, I hope we're right.
Pygoscelis.
Interesting.
Yeah, I guess like Pygmalion. Like, so it's pig, P-Y-G.
Yeah, like pigment. A pigment of my imagination.
It's mauve.
Purple.
Oh, I was going to say, like, it's very close.
And the species is Adelie or Adelie.
Yeah, Adelie.
Adelie.
Wow.
Are we just going to hear Siri say it?
I'm sitting at my computer and I have a speak to text
Speak and spell
function on Chrome, and it's helpful in this regard. But that's the binomial name, Pygoscelis Adelidae or Adelie. Dang it, vowels. Anyway, that's where that is. Are you ready for a description? Or
No, I have
something else?
I have one more thing that we need to do. One more, just little addition, and that would happen to be my favorite part of the show. Critter groups. The part of the show where I ask you a question, Joe, and that question is the same every time. What is the name of a group of this animal? Or what is the name of the collective noun? Or what is the term of venery? It's all the same. If you saw a bunch of these dudes hanging out, what would you call it? And penguin is a wealth of good ones. So I picked one, and it's one of these options. So if you saw a bunch of penguins, would you call it A, a waddle of penguins, B, a crowd of penguins, C, a slide of penguins, or D, a swath of penguins?
They look very crowd-like. I know they can also be called a colony, because they have an emperor.
No, it's just an entire species is just all emperors. It's this all too many leaders in that one.
Too many cooks. They look like a crowd. A slide is something they do. What was the first one? Something else.
Waddle.
Waddle, right? And then the third one.
A swath.
I'm gonna go with a crowd. Final answer.
Incorrect. The answer
Is it a swath?
was waddle.
Wow.
It is a waddle of penguins. I knew that would get you because it makes sense.
I feel like that's not real.
They all kind of.
They're called a colony. Nobody calls it a
There's
waddle.
like 5 of them. Colony is definitely one of them, but I definitely wanted to go with waddle.
Yeah, sometimes like these, when there's like 5 of them and it's just like silly things that kind of pertain to the thing. It's like, nah, you're just making stuff up.
Well,
And by you, I mean the people that do this.
I imagine a waddle is like maybe a smaller group. I imagine a British person calling a small group of penguins a waddle of penguins. But like when they're amassed in the hundreds of thousands, I don't think waddle is a very appropriate term there. Colony works.
A colony. A crowd too would work, because if you look at a bunch of penguins, it looks like a big crowd of people at like a train station huddled together, not social distancing.
It looks like Coachella.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening in Antarctica.
Yes. I'm not going to try to even...
It's hard to do.
All right.
Okay.
What does it look like?
Would you like to have it described?
Yes, I do. What does a penguin look like? What does this penguin look like?
Adelie.
Like the singer.
Like
When Brian's...
like where you get your like lunch meats. Adelie.
Yes, where the singer gets her lunch meats.
Yes.
Brian called his artwork for it "Set Fire to the Snow," which you can see his artwork if you visit us at ldtaxonomy.com or follow us on Facebook or Twitter.
Okie dokie. So, Adelie penguins sport the classic penguin look in their smart little black and white tuxedos. They have white bellies, black backs, displaying the counter shading that's totally in this season.
Mm-hmm.
Their black plumed heads and in a short beak, and their eyes appear as a white ring around a large black pupil. Their sleek appearance makes them look featherless, but they do actually have feathers. Their feathers are short and dense to insulate heat and create something like a wetsuit in the water. But I said little.
Mm.
And penguins can range because an emperor penguin's like pretty tall, like 5 feet, maybe taller.
What?
Look it up.
I am looking this up. 3.8 feet.
No way. They're taller than that.
They're like 50 pounds.
I'm seeing 3.6, between 3.6 and 4.3.
That still is really tall. I did not anticipate.
It's like a child.
Yeah, it's like up to my chest. That's scary.
But that when we're talking about size, that brings us to the beloved Measure Up segment, the official listener's favorite part of the show, the part of the show when we present the animal size and dimensions in relatable terms through a quiz that's fun for the whole family. It's also part of the show that's introduced by you when you send an audio of yourself saying or chittering the words Measure Up into ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. We don't have a new Measure Up intro this week.
No.
That means we get to hear from an animal and Carlos has to guess what it is. Are you ready?
Bring it on.
Without further ado, the listener's favorite part of the show. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
So, I'll just let that go on, and there's fun sounds happening. Is that A, a chinstrap penguin, B, an emperor penguin, C, an Adelie penguin, or D, a bumper boat that needs an oil change?
Darn it! I was hoping that only one of the options would be penguin, and I was like, "Yeah, I know this one."
That's clearly a penguin or a bumper boat sound.
Chinstrap, emperor, or Adelie. I'm gonna go with Adelie because I have no idea what a chinstrap penguin sounds like, and I think that the emperor penguin has more of like a single caw, but it sounds really similar. So Adelie penguin.
Adelie penguin, final answer.
Yep.
That is incorrect. It's an emperor
penguin.
penguin.
Darn. They do sound really similar, though.
That was about as much a crapshoot as Critter Group's segment.
Well, I've watched that Adelie penguin documentary on Disney Plus a couple times, and so I should know this. But
I just think they have similar styles.
Well, there is even a moment when like an adult Adelie penguin wanders through an emperor penguin colony, and so you hear both of their cries, and he goes up to one of the emperor penguin chicks, and it's bigger than he is, and then it pecks him in the face. Go watch it; it's great.
I saw a video of a bunch of adult Adelie penguins bullying emperor penguin chicks, even though they're way bigger.
Really, in the Disney thing, it's the other way around. The emperor penguin chick bullies the adult Adelie.
The kids these days have no respect for their elders.
No, they don't. Especially when they're different species.
That's right. It's racist. Let's talk about height. They're between 46 to 71 centimeters or 18 to 28 inches. How many penguins go into the height of the tallest building in Antarctica? Antarctica. Man, Antarctica. Name it something else. Bottom Arctica. How about that? South Arctica?
Just forego the sea. Most people forego the sea in there, and they just say Antarctica.
Oh, that's right.
But you'll say the Arctic.
The Arctic. Here's a hint. The tallest building on the continent is actually two side-by-side identical buildings called long-duration balloon payload preparation buildings at McMurdo Station City.
Very catchy. Clearly buildings that some giant corporation hasn't bought yet, like the Sears Tower. It's like
not a lot of people lining up to go to the least visited, tallest building on a continent.
The Verizon Spires. Well, I can't imagine that they're that tall. I'll say 5 stories seems like it would be really tall for an Antarctic building, given that all the buildings there are research stations. All the permanent structures there are usually like probably 1 to 2 story research station. So we're going to go with 5 stories, which means 50 feet. And these guys are 2 feet, about 4 inches, 28 inches. So we will go, so it's a little bit less than 2.5. I'll say 20.
20 penguins, final answer?
Yeah.
The correct answer was a little bit off what your mark was. It was about 21 penguins.
Whoa, that was close.
The buildings are 49 feet high.
Oh my goodness, got it. Wow. They must, yeah, cool.
They're mobile buildings. You can move them because sometimes if you keep it in one spot, it'll get covered in snow.
When you say sometimes, do you mean all the time?
Yes.
Because it's Antarctica? Snow's kind of its thing.
Snow is its thing, and being south. Let's talk about weight. They're between 3.6 to 6.0 kilograms, or 7.9 to 13.2 pounds. We're going with the upper end of average again. How many Adelie penguins go into Antarctic fur seal? Okay, let me restart that sentence because I was struggling with two of the words that aren't that hard to say. How many Adelie penguins would an Antarctic fur seal have to eat its weight in penguin?
So we're just trying to figure out how many Adelie penguins go into the weight of an Antarctic fur seal.
That's correct.
Okay. Well, I'm guessing that's an average or something.
Yes. Here's a hint. The Antarctic fur seal can live all over the southern seas, but most of them are distributed in sub-Antarctic islands.
How can you be sub-Antarctic? Is that in space?
Yeah, because everything's in relative on a sphere, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, usually
Sub
sub would
meaning
be
not
south.
quite. Sub meaning not quite. So subpar means not quite up to par.
South of par.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whenever I think of a seal and penguins, I think of the leopard seal, which is pretty big. So I'll just go with that because I don't know what the fur seal weighs, and I don't know what the leopard seal weighs either. So let's go with 300 pounds. No, that's too much. Let's go with 150 pounds. It's like a big dog. That's what seals are anyway, right? They're just water dogs.
Okay.
So, about 12.
12 penguins. Mm-hmm. Correct answer is 14.6 penguins.
Oh, they're still really close.
The fur seal is 190 pounds.
It was definitely more off than the first one, but goodness, I was expecting it to be like a 400-pound seal. It's like, it's just south of the elephant seal. See, you can say south is sub. It's sub of the elephant seal.
That's true. Okay. Not bad. Pretty close.
That was like
all things considered.
One of the best ones.
Would you like to hear some fast facts before we get into the major fact?
Yes.
Remember when we used to call this general info?
It is all.
I guess this is all
general info, and it just ends with the fast facts.
That's correct. Okay. So, emperor penguins all penguins, not true. Several penguins, including emperors and Adelie penguins, live in Antarctica. I'm doing the C, but leaving the T, the first T off. They live in Antarctica, and no penguins live at the North Pole. Did you know that?
I did know that polar bears are the North Pole, penguins are in the South.
Emperor penguins are said to have the highest feather density of any bird. This time I am talking about emperors, but several studies have shown that to be incorrect. Still, penguins in general have highly dense plumules, which are downy feathers. Robert Downey feathers. There is some debate as to the secret of a penguin's cold weather feather success. Some say it comes from after feathers that are attached to contour feathers, but a 2015 study said it was largely due to these dense downy feathers. And they also have a thick layer of fat underneath the skin for more insulation. So they're built for tough for the ice and snow. These little guys are fairly quick on their feet despite their awkward waddle, but they do engage in the signature belly slide when they get a chance.
And all of it's hilarious.
All of it's hilarious, all of it's cute.
The waddle almost always involves tripping.
It does. In fact, they may travel more than 30 miles to reach open water. It's quite a trek for like somebody wearing parachute pants. Drop crotch parachute pants.
Like
Dick Van Dyke.
I was just about to say that. Dick Van Dyke during the It's a Jolly Holiday song in
from
Mary Poppins.
Miriam Poppins.
Miriam Poppins. It's her full name.
Marriott Poppin Squat.
Ew.
Like most penguins, they're adept swimmers. They cruise at Michael Phelps swim speeds, but they can reach as much as 9 miles per hour when hunting or escaping predators.
I thought you were going to say 9 Michael Phelps.
Do you know what? No, not quite. Not even double Michael Phelps. Do you know what Michael Phelps' top speed was? Is maybe? I don't know if he can still do it.
I'll say 10 miles an hour.
Incorrect. Wow, that would be like a sprint for a person on land.
No, a sprint for a person. Well, I guess a regular person. I was taking Usain Bolt's top speed and just dividing it by 3.
Which is like 20.
It's like 30. I think he runs like 30 miles an hour.
No, it's 6 miles per hour.
Okay.
So like a person could jog alongside him and struggle to keep up.
He's an Olympian. Anything's possible.
But they can reach speeds of as much as an average person in a sprint.
10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or 9. Adelies share parenting duties, and they take turns sitting on an egg. Well, not just any egg, their egg. While the other parent hunts. They like to eat a wide variety of seafood, including several types of krill, Antarctic silverfish, and glacial squid, if that doesn't sound like a Pokemon. Fossil records show that around 200 years ago, Adelies ate mostly fish, but they've altered course culinarily, and now they eat mostly krill. They believe this may be because of the decline of their competition, like baleen whales and Antarctic fur seals, which used to eat all the krill, drink all their milkshake, so they would have to eat fish, but now there's a huge abundance of krill, and it's easier for them to catch.
I read an opposing theory to that, which is the fact that krill has a relatively low salt concentration compared to the rest of their food, and penguins don't really have access to fresh water, so most of their water and food has high salt concentrations, and there's a higher likelihood of survival in chicks if they get less sodium intake. So Adelie penguins have adapted to eat and regurgitate krill into their chicks' mouths rather than other saltier foods.
So when we were doing like the light bulb situation, they were like, let's maybe eat krill.
What is the light bulb situation?
When did we invent the light bulb? And by we, I mean people that are smarter than me.
You mean like in the late 19th century?
Is that when that was? Man, it's been a while.
It has been a while. What are you talking about?
I mean, I was trying to place like in time 200 years ago what was like our thing that we are inventing.
Okay, where did 200 years come from?
That's when the Adelie penguins switched from fish to krill.
Oh, okay.
So maybe like the toad. No, 200 years ago. Jeez, what even happened back then?
In 1820, I think we were at war with the British.
We
were just wrapping up war with the British because the British were at war with Napoleon. That's what was happening.
That's right. 1812. How long did that last? Does it matter?
No.
So it took us a little bit longer to figure out the light bulb than it took for them to figure out that krill is good.
Yeah, it's everyone, different strokes.
I mean, don't compare yourself to others. You're running the race against yourself. You want to hit that PR. It's not about what other people are doing.
PB.
Or their penguins.
You don't want to hit your You don't want to hit your public.
Broadcasting?
What's PR?
Personal record?
Oh, I was thinking personal best, PB. Anyway.
Public relations?
Public relations. There we go.
This is like a stream of consciousness podcast.
Yeah, this is going off the rails.
Okay, last fact, speaking of seals, because we were. Adelies are preyed upon by fur seals, along with orcas and giant petrels, big birds. And other seabirds like kelp gulls eat their young. So eggs and chicks.
I have seen that in Disney's documentary. But they are very good at not showing animal death.
They fade away and the narrator gets sad about it.
Yeah, it's like, well, because they give personalities and names and backstories to the animals that they follow. So it's traumatic if an animal dies.
But I remember in the Bears no, that's a spoiler. I'm not going to spoil the Bears, Disney's Bears.
Yeah,
I'm not a monster.
You're a bear, not an animal.
That's all I got for that.
All right, ready for the major fact?
I am.
I will just want to pause and say that ever since you mentioned Danny DeVito, I've had him as Penguin up on my other screen, looking at me into my very soul, and he definitely looks like Bilbo after seeing the ring on Frodo's chest.
With like the dark eyes.
Yeah, he looks like he's just about to snatch that ring right off Frodo's chest. So that's that'll be in my brain for a while.
Or like an Uncle Fester.
Yeah, even more sinister Uncle Fester, the Christopher. What I can't remember his name. Who's Doc?
Who are you talking about?
Christopher Lloyd. There we go. The Christopher Lloyd Fester.
I forgot that he was Uncle Fester.
Yeah, we just watched that a few weeks ago again. The '90s Addams Family, and it's delightful. Anyway,
is it?
Anyway, penguins. 3, 2, 1 penguins. Okay, so I'm calling this major fact: killing 2 birds with 1 stone.
Good.
Humans are not unique in their obsession with precious stones. Rocks are coveted as tools by chimpanzees, which you can also see on Disney's documentaries. But for chimps, the value of rocks is intrinsic, meaning that they are valuable because they are useful in and of themselves. They're valued as tools. For humans, precious stones are valuable because we assign value to them. Gold or diamonds or what have you is mostly only valuable because we just like them. They're rare and they're pretty, and that's why they're valuable. Less than, if they were like a great conductor of electricity or like steel or something like that. Those are intrinsically valuable. So the same is true to a degree for Adelie penguins when it comes to how they value the stones or rocks. But it's both for these little Toddle Puffs, both intrinsic and extrinsic value. So let's just set up exactly like what an Adelie's life looks like and why rocks would be important. So Adelie penguins set up their nests on rocky portions of the Antarctic coastline. And that coastline changes throughout the year. Because during the winter, the landmass of Antarctica actually doubles in size. And I say landmass with quotes because the water around the continent freezes. So you have the solid ground that you would see, the shape of which you would see on a map of Antarctica. But during the winter, it actually expands outward, and all of that is ice that's attached to the land. So it's not floating. And as soon as spring comes and the ice starts receding, so back toward the central land in there, the male Adelie penguins will return from the ocean and walk across the ice to the actual solid ground coastline. Like you said, upwards of 30 miles sometimes, and which is an insane thing to do for the most clumsy animal that's just waddling around and tripping on ice. It's crazy that they don't spend the whole time sliding on their bellies, because you just see like this huge, like massive penguins waddling, and some of them are sliding and going like 4 times faster, but the other ones are trying to waddle at full tilt and just tripping and face planting on the ice. It is adorable and sad a little bit. But so anyway, this is the journey of the males every spring. Once they get to the actual solid ground part, the part that's not going to melt away in the summer, they'll pick a part of exposed ground that isn't covered in snow, and they'll start building their nests. But obviously, finding a spot in Antarctica that isn't covered in snow is easier said than done, especially when there are like a few 100,000 of you on one like hillside. So once what?
It's like it's just like it's very metropolitan. Like I feel like they could relate to a parking situation in like New York.
Yeah, and there's fees for everything, so it is like New York.
One time I was trying to find a parking spot near the Grand Ole Opry in downtown Nashville, and I feel like I know what it's like to be a penguin.
Those are two very similar experiences. Walking 30 miles in parachute pants across the ice in the middle of Antarctica to get to your rocky outcropping where you're going to spend the coldest months, and also trying to find a parking spot in downtown Nashville. Very similar experiences.
So I can see where some country music happens.
Yes. So for the Adelie, once the male finds a good spot, he starts looking for rocks to build his nest. And not a very comfortable nest. But the point is that it's raised above the ground, because if it snows again, and like snow and ice that form on the ground or collect on the ground, the nest can be raised above all of that. The point is they don't want the eggs to rest on the ice because that will kill the chicks. So they need to stay above it. So rocks serve a functional or intrinsic purpose, but that's not where that rocky relationship ends, because the size and construction of these rock nests plays a role in sexual selection.
Rock nest monster?
Yes. Nesty, which is my favorite kind of chocolate milk. So once the females arrive later on, the rocks will actually end up being a form of rudimentary currency. Money for penguins. Sounds like
it's like water for elephants.
It sounds like a black market exotic animal trade, but no. It's just
it sounds like a book at the Scholastic Book Fair.
Money for Penguins.
Yes.
It's a children's book teaching them about fiscal responsibility.
Yeah.
Using penguins as a cute medium. So the males will forage and collect rocks for their nests, and the rocks are scarce. So females will choose males that have the best nests. Since her chicks will have the best chance of survival on a well-formed nest. So the males place extra value on stones outside of just their use. They'll often hoard more rocks than they need, and they'll even steal rocks from each other when they're not looking, which is another funny scene in the Disney documentary. Ed Helm voices the main penguin, and it's great.
Voices him?
Yeah, he like voices the thoughts of the penguin as he walks around. And they really like pour into the personification of this penguin as he's like just waddling around with his head out and his wings out, and he's just saying things to himself, and it's great.
Interesting.
It's like these are the thoughts of an Adelie penguin. But the females will also use rocks in exchange for secret dalliances with other males. And a dalliance is a romantic encounter. So they think this is possibly to secure a mate if the first one dies, because penguins are monogamous for the most part. Even though they spend most of their lives away from each other, they will come back and hear each other's call through the hundreds of thousands of other penguins, and reunite every year back on land. But if a penguin dies while out at sea, then she has a backup. But after this secret union, she will take a rock from him. So it is a little bit of they are penguins of the night, and in fact penguins are the straight up sexual deviants. So if you
wait a minute. Or there's another way to interpret this. There's another situation.
She's a femme fatale.
A rock is exchanged in a romantic gesture.
True, but
it's a proposal.
Yeah, but she's already married to some other penguin, and then she goes and knocks flippers with some other male penguin, and then takes a rock from him, and then brings it back to her nest.
Wow.
So
infidelity.
Yeah.
Oh. Infidelity.
Infidelity. But they're actually penguins are there was a back in 1910, one of the first expeditions, long-term expeditions to Antarctica. A biologist wrote this huge thing about how these Adelie penguins were essentially just sexual deviants, but it was very scientific, more scientific than I just made it seem. And it was too lewd. People just ignored it. They were just like, we're not publishing it. This is too messed up. And then I think in 2016, they're like, no, wait, this is actually valid research. And they published it. So I'm not going to explain it now. So I think you get it. So just go look it up if that floats your iceberg. And that's all I got.
That's all I got.
They like rocks a lot. But so do we. We like shiny things. Although those rocks aren't shiny. They're cold and bland.
Calculated.
Yeah. So for you out there in Podcastia, pick a spot, make your nest, and remember that the love of rocks is the root of all kinds of evil, like the Adelie penguin here in Life, Death, and Taxonomy.
Salacious. Hey LDT listeners, thanks for listening to the end of the episode. For your loyalty, you get a shameless self-promotion from us. If you haven't already, leaving a review on your favorite podcast app can really help us grow. But telling your podcast-loving friends about us is even better. Also, don't forget to send in your Measure Up intros and animal suggestions to ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. We love hearing from you. As always, thanks, most of all, for listening.
Life, Death, and Taxonomy is my favorite in the world podcast.
If you're wearing a pinstripe suit, it's just no one knows that you're like the groom. It's just like, hey, look at this car salesman. But if you're wearing a black tuxedo, it's like, okay, clearly this person is at least in the wedding party.
Oh, yeah. Tuxedos, though, nobody wears tuxedos to weddings unless it's extremely formal. Speaking of tuxedos.
Perfect segue.